How you doing, YouTube? We are in Kuala Lumpur and the Airbus A380. I'm checking to make sure my autopilot is really disengaged. This is the flight plan. Let me zoom out and show it to you. Flying from Kuala Lumpur down to Singapore and taking off on 32 right, landing on O2 Center. Let you see the flight plan, and there it is. It's about 228 nautical miles. I'm going to try to fly as fast as I can so that the flight doesn't take too long. Let you take a look at the airplane. Singapore Airlines A380. That's a beautiful paint job there. Flawless. I was thinking to make these planes look more real, there should be some burn marks on the engines or something. They are just spotless, aren't they? But look at those turbines just spinning. Alright, so let's jump in the cockpit and we'll release the brake. Power up 40%. Get rolling. We're going to take off at 80% today. Alright. It's 80 knots there. Pretty sure you heard the co-pilot call that out. And rotate. Positive brake, gear up, set the heading, set the speed, set the vertical speed. Alright, so look, this is what we're doing. We are going to try to do this by the book, and the way we're going to do that is to let the autopilot handle it. So, on the performance data, again, this is our initial climb to 5,000 feet. On the initial climb 5,000 feet, we're being told by Skybrary that you should have an indicated airspeed of 190 knots. Let's get that. We're about there. That's 189. The rate of climb can be as high as 1,500 feet per minute. We're pretty much there. And let's just see how this works. Flaps. Flaps. Add some trim. Let's jump outside and take a look. See what okay, so there is the attitude of the plane. So we're going to carry this, and what I'm going to do here at 2,500, since we're halfway there, I'm going to speed up a little bit. But I'm going to try to stay in the parameters. Normally, if you look at my other videos, since I'm free flying, solo free flying, man, I am real quick to get to 290 and increase my elevation so I can get the plane in the air without any hesitation. But I said today I'm going to go ahead and try to do this based on this performance data and see how Infinite Flight's A380 can handle that. But I figure it would be more difficult if since this is the first time I'm trying this, if I try to handle it all on my own. So I figure I'll let the autopilot throw an assist in there. So right now, we are planning on going 240 knots because we're not going any higher than flight level 240. We can't. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time and distance. So here comes the turn. Get this turn. And get some speed. Increase our rate of climb. Alright, so we are climbing. I'll jump out the plane in just a second so you can see how the plane looks. Give me 1 second. I gotta make this turn here. Let me activate this next one. What is that, 77? Let me get that turn. Alright. So we're going to jump out the plane and take a look. You know, I flew in an A380 twice, and I can tell you, my experience was that it felt like we were moving slow. That was just the sensation that I had until we were in that jet stream. Once we made that right turn off the coast of North America, we were booking. But the initial takeoff from JFK, man, it just felt sluggish, man. We weren't really moving that slow. So the plane looks good right there, I believe. Alright, so we have another turn coming. Let's turn the landing lights off. See, we can decrease our rate of climb. As I was saying, we can decrease our rate of climb if we want to. This is the max that it could be. Like, I can take this down to bring the nose down. There's really no point in going any higher because this is as fast as we're going to go. I hope you're able to stick through the whole flight. So we'll set our altimeter at 1,500 feet. See the sun over there in the distance. Let's take a look at the map. And we can go ahead and push this up. So we have some pretty long legs coming up on this particular. Let me center the map. Let's look back and see if we can see the airport. There it is. Alright, so I'm going to start lowering the nose, make this turn. See if let's take a look over here to the left. See, so that's the border for the region over here. I wonder how far out on that water we could fly. I'm gonna have to try that one day. So if we chose to fly up to flight level 240, we're not supposed to take the speed up. This is as fast as we can go. But at this point, you saw I was decreasing the rate of climb. At this point, the highest the rate of climb can be is 1,300 feet per minute. Our ground speed's 308. Indicated airspeed's right at 240. Let's see if I don't think we have any opportunities for, it might be too hard to do any plane spotting from there, but we can try. Let's go to the tower and let's see. Is that Changi? It's possible. Let's see, the sun is out there too, so it might be too difficult. Typically, I can find the plane against this opaque background, but I think the plane is just too far away. Even as big as it is, it's too far away to be spotted. It's a challenge if you don't turn the scene black so that you can spot the flashing. It's really hard to do, because you have to have some reference points, and the only reference point I have right now is the sun. So we have a minute. So let me do this one more time. Oh, we switched airports. Let's jump back in the plane because we have a turn coming up. And take a look at the map. We might have been at the same airport and it just switched our location into the tower. I found that's happened sometimes when I'm trying to spot. I sure would love to be able, I don't think I've spotted the A380 yet. I spotted the 737 CRJ-200, the 208, and I spotted the 747. What airport is this? Okay. So there's the sun. I'll leave it right there. Take a look. Okay. There's the sun. So there's the sun. I don't see the flashing lights of the navigation lights at all. And without that flashing light, it is just too hard to spot from this distance. So we're going to give up on that. There's not a lot of airports on this region. If you look at this full map here. We're coming up on one. We're actually gonna come over Malacca. I guess that's how you pronounce that. So when we fly over, what we'll do is, as we approach, we'll go ahead and jump out and spot the A380 on an overhead flight. I'm still trying to remember when I first started to fall in love with flight simulation. I actually started by flying the remote control planes on my phone, and that just wasn't enough. I kept getting this urge to want to be inside the plane, so to speak, and have some more control. And I remember the first time I came across this particular simulator. I believe I had a Windows phone, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if this is still available in Windows or if it ever was. It might have been the first time I had an Android device, but back then I used to fly a lot of those shuttle missions. I don't fly the shuttle missions anymore. I pretty much stick to flying different routes, such as this one. For a long time, all the thing I flew was the Cessna 208 with the FedEx livery. I tossed the coin between FedEx and DHL and decided I'd be a virtual FedEx pilot. And I would just fly everywhere. The longest flight I've taken so far, and this simulator is 6 hours. It was roughly 2,000 miles. I believe I was flying a 737 on that flight. I have to look up my log, but yeah, 6 hours of long flight, and it was difficult. I wanted to pass out at some points. Oh yeah, let's we don't have to change, so alright, so here is, and there we are. And there is a spot on the A380 flying overhead. Did the plane just disappear? Oh, there it's back. We gotta make a turn. Alright, so I just made a turn while I'm spotting. Look at that. Look at those engines. So because we aren't that high, I can pretty much zoom in, watch it fly across. That's as far as I can zoom in. So we'll watch it fly off. It's not going to be about 3 minutes before we have to make another turn. So we can zoom out and give you a reference of how far this plane is away. This is why it's so hard to spot. Right there it disappears, and you have to, and when you get ready to spot an infinite flight, see that flashing? You have to see that against that blue background, And if the plane is too far away, you're just not going to see it, because you have to zoom in like this. And the closer you zoom in, the more the plane jumps around. And remember, this is the ATC view. This isn't the one that follows. You're following this on your own. Look at that. Look at the wings. So we'll let it fly off. How about this? How about we'll stay with it, and then what's our next turn? 118 is 118 degrees. So we'll stay with it and then make our next turn. And see how it looks from here, from Malaysia. Of course, you know, they would have to have some extremely powerful binoculars to be spotting this plane so clearly at such a distance. Oh, it just jumped. I hate when that happens. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to. Let me see. It went to this follow. Now, I don't know how to get that off, so let me see. Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it off. I think if you double tap the screen, it will follow the plane, and that's what I didn't want to happen. So we have a minute, and look how far. This is as much as I can zoom in. It's that far away. So I'll keep it to the top as much as I can. Hopefully we'll be able to see this plane turn. Usually when it gets to that last 20 seconds, it'll give us the turn. It's going to be a left turn from our, alright, here's the turn, and there it is. Look at that turn. Look at that. This is one of the best spots I did. I wish we could see the detail of the so I'm gonna double tap, and boom, see what happens. It zooms in, and double tap, and it zooms out. So remember that on the ATC view, if you double tap your screen, you can zoom in. So let's go ahead and jump back in the cockpit. And that was really cool. So we just spotted our first A380 at 15, flight level 150. Now, if you really want to be impressive, and you can spot, the highest elevation I spotted so far was flight level 280. And it's hard to keep up, because at that point, you'll be flying at least Mach 0.83 to Mach 0.85, and I spotted one of my planes above flight level 280. It was like 28,005. Let's zoom in and check our location. Okay, so we're gonna go 7, 5, 4, 5, because we're gonna have to capture the glide slope at 3. 10, 7, 5. Okay, so I've got our descent ready. Okay, so let's go over. Alright, so we're at flight level 150. So on the descent down, let's say we were above flight level 240, the initial descent to flight level 240, your Mach speed can be 0.83. Your rate of descent is 1,000 feet per minute. To descend to flight level 100, your rate of descent is 2,000, and your indicated airspeed can be as high as 300 knots. But remember, we're flying at flight level 240. We could speed up and whatnot at this point, but oh, what the hell, you know, doesn't really matter. Like, just for the sake of saying, well, we're here, we'll go ahead and put it up to flight 250 knots, because we're below. We're gonna descend to flight level 100, and then we'll be getting below. So our first descent, our initial descent, will be to descend to and maintain 10,005. And there's 1,000 feet per minute. You see, we are fast approaching Changi. Right there, only 8 feet above sea level. One of the things I have to do some research on are the minimum control speed. For this plane, it is 230 knots. And well, I guess I need to find out where that comes into play on VAP, because VAP for this plane was 138 knots, which is 100 knots slower than the minimum control speed. So I guess that, you know, I guess none of us are really, unless you're a pilot. It's not like we're really flying real airplanes here, but I don't know how many of you all try to be as close to reality as we can. I mean, I'm not trying to go faster than the speed of sound and all that craziness. Like, I try to make sure I descend, giving myself plenty of space and time, so I have at least a gradual descent. I've run into some situations where I had to do a rapid descent, but I've been on planes where I knew we were doing rapid descent. I mean, it was obvious. You can, like, anybody that's been on a plane that's descending fast knows, they can tell. There's a sensation. And I've also tracked planes on FlightAware where they were descending, you know, all the way down below 10,000 feet faster than the performance data says you're supposed to. I mean, also this plane has some pretty high tolerances as well. Okay, so at this turn at Arama, We planned on being at flight level 10.5, and we will be. And right after we make that turn, we're going to descend to flight level 750. And then hopefully by then we'll be at Airbus, I believe that is. What is that? Yeah, Airbus. Next turn is 146. That'll be a right turn. So I'll set that heading, and then I will just drop us down to flight levels, actually to 7,500 feet. Here's the turn, and descending to 7,500, and just turn on the landing lights and our descent rates. Let's do that to 1,800 feet per minute. Check our location, and once we're there, we will maintain 7,500 until we're at Airbus, and then we're going to descend to 5,000 feet. I had our descent rate a little too high. You can descend to flight level 100 at a rate of descent of 2,000 feet per minute, but once you're below flight level 100, then your rate of descent should not be more than 1,000 feet per minute. But we've given ourselves plenty of time and distance that we're okay. So as you see, we only have 1,000 feet to go in 3 minutes that we're going to maintain. Let's take a look outside. We can trim out 20%. Slow down to 240. So we have an estimated time to destination, 14 minutes, 2 minutes to our next waypoint. We're looking good, and I don't think we're going to be able to do an automated landing. I'm going to descend to 500 and then disconnect the autopilot and bring it in. The reason is, I believe if we try to do the automated landing, we'll have a problem once we get to 150 feet because of the elevation. The elevation of this airport is just so low. Because you have to remember, when you have the autopilot on, you set the altimeter at 0. The only other option you have is to disconnect it, which I think that's what we'll do. We'll do autopilot landing, and we'll disconnect the altimeter and control the rate of descent. And we'll see if that combination works, because if you have the altimeter set to 0, then your rate of descent, the autopilot is just going to stop the plane, because it's almost like crashing. It's going to slow the plane down. And while it'll look good coming in, it'll land very, very late. I've been experimenting, trying to find the right combination. I must have I practiced for about an hour landing at San Francisco, which San Francisco is about, 30 to 40 feet? Give me 1 second. Let's descend to, let me get our rate up, 1,000, descend down to 5. And I sat there landing over and over and over. I must have did, I don't know how many landings. I just lost count. And I said, being below the glide slope isn't acceptable. And having the altimeter and the vertical speed combination on isn't working. It just doesn't work. Once I got to 150 feet, the plane, even if you set the vertical speed to 2,000 feet per minute to descend, a negative 2,000 feet per minute, the autopilot will not allow the plane to descend faster than 300 feet per minute once it hits 150 feet. So if you're trying to land at an airport that's below 100 feet, it's going to be a while. You'll hit the middle, if not further down. Let's say you have a runway that's 13,000 to 15,000 feet long. You're going to cover 7,000 to 8,000 of the feet of that runway in the air. So it'll look like you've got ground effect happening. Where's that turn? Okay, so let's slow down. Good. Ascend to 4,000. Check our time. Actually, 45. So this will be a big turn. Once we make this turn, we'll descend to 3,000. Let me see how much time we have. Yeah, we'll start our descent to capture the glide slope. Got about a 66-degree turn here coming up. Got a few tasks I have to take care of. And here's the turn. Let me set the heading, decrease the speed, get our elevation to 3,000. Our rated descents 1,000. Trim. Turn, baby. Alright. I'm going to turn it to 80. I want to try to get it on that line. And we can slow our descent down. So let's take a look outside. Oh, we look good. Alright, 4 minutes to Cinco. Let's go here. Have my philosophy of better early than late and never. So I'll get my descent done early, because I've had situations where I'm flying and let's say I'm flying at flight level 410, and I'm sitting here doing this math and fiddling around with other things, and I forget to begin my initial descent, and I run out of distance and space and time, because you have to have the combination of the two working in your favor. The higher you are, you have to be able to get down, and I ended up on this one extremely arduous flight where I had been flying for like 3 hours. I had to go around because I was too high. And so I said from there on out, I would always get down early, because it's just me flying. It ain't like it's anybody else with me until I have air traffic control. And I would get my speed and my elevation down early. So like here, I'm ready. All I have left to do is start to, once I make this turn, is to start slowing the plane down. I think what I'm going to do is increase the size of this map. And there we go, so we'll have that up. We should turn the seat belts off and be like, get up and walk around while we're landing. So we are going to control the vertical speed on the descents and turn off the altimeter and see how that works. I mean, it works on the climb. It should work on the descent. We're going to have everything else under control. Alright, so slow down to 200 knots. Crew, prepare for landing. Ain't that what the captain says? Alright, so we have a turn coming. This is another big turn. Can we see our airport yet? Excuse me. I really wish after I make this turn, I'm going to check something. Alright, so here comes the turn. Slow our speed down. Let me check something. No, that gear knob is still down, so it didn't move. But as you see, the joystick's moving. Alright. So I'm really not interested in staying on this glide path, the path, the flight plan anymore, because it's a little off to the left. What I have to be concerned with is staying on the center line. So let me see if I can see the airport. Alright, so we're coming up. There it is, right there. So we should start to line up. Let me check the big map. And we'll wind up on... We should be catching the glide slope in just a second. Spoilers are armed. Oops. My bad. I saw that glide slope pop up and it was below where we were. Alright, so there's the glide slope. Get our rate of descent to 700. Speeds down. We have to get ready to... Let me check our where we're at. Okay. Gear. Nope, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So you saw what just happened. It won't work. I have to get the plane back under control. Alright, so that experiment is out. So we have to get back under control. So turning the altimeter off on final does not work. Let me slow the plane down so I can get the recapture the glide slope. Alright, it's coming back. Alright, so I apologize for that one. That didn't work at all. Let me take a look outside right quick. Alright, so we'll go back to our initial plan. Let me slow our descent down again. Flaps, and there's the glide slope back. Go full flaps. Alright, so we should be okay from here. Alright, so when we get to 500 feet, I'll go ahead and disconnect the autopilot and I will take it in. So speed is okay. Alright, so we're going to disconnect the autopilot in about right here. Alright, so we're disconnected. You know, when I was on the A380, that happened right there. The plane dropped a little bit. Alright, so let's please stay on center line. Came down too early. I don't know how in the world I double tapped the screen. Brakes. Brakes off. Alright, so spoilers. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and replay. But of course that didn't work. So what we'll do, we're gonna try the autopilot, the landing, and see what happens. Maybe I should have disconnected the autopilot at 600 feet. I'm going to taxi up here and pull off so that I'll have an endpoint. When I stop the replay, I can be able to push the plane all the way up here. Turn off here. just break right there. So we'll come back. Let me jump in the cockpit so I can get the plane to 500 feet. We'll jump out here and play. And that's where we disconnected the autopilot. And we started sinking. So right there you see we have 2 red because we're too low. There's 1 white, 1 red. Actually we have 1 white, 1 red. That's amazing. So I'm trying to hold the nose up. I think we got a good flare. Now it says we're too high. But we landed just after crossing the threshold, which so here we are, we're on center line, but I started drifting because as I was doing the reverse thruster, I went to go put my hand on the rudder and I slid across the screen with my right thumb, and it caused my vantage point to be cockeyed to the left, so I couldn't tell which direction I was going until I had the plane slowed down. So let's turn off to the right. Let me see. We'll do the last 200 yards and we'll be off here. So we'll get a good vantage point there and a little high so we can see exactly where we touch down. I could not stop this descent. It was it had pretty much it had all the momentum on its own. So there. Alright, so let's look again. Right there. There's the touchdown. Let's zoom in. So the wheels are touched down right there, and we would rather be up there, but it's amazing that we had 2 white lights telling we were too high. Either way, it's still acceptable, I would say. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to 1,000 feet, and right here the autopilot is still on, and we're going to go live. Remember that drops because we're dropping this plane into this environment, so I have to slow our descent rate down and let the autopilot will take over again. I'm going to try to guide the plane down to the runway. So here we have 500 feet. And you know, if it lands, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised if this plane does in fact land. Alright, so it looks like we're still centered. Oh my goodness, man, I tapped the daggone... Let me go back and do this again. Did you see what I just did? I tapped the thing as I was trying to control it. So let's give us some more air so that we give the plane time to recapture the glide slope. So we're dropping the plane at 12,000 feet. Decrease our rated descents. Because you know, once you drop the plane into this environment like that, it's going to bounce. It won't just fly straight. Alright, so now we've recaptured the glide slope. Stay centered. I'm going to turn it back a little right. Stay centered on the runway. We're flying into a bit of a crosswind. I meant to change the weather, but I didn't, so we are flying into a crosswind. And it's an 8-knot crosswind. But hey.
500.
Alright, so let's see what happens. I'm not going to tap the vertical descent this time. I tend to get a little heavy thumbed. Alright.
200.
Come on, baby.
200.
Oh man, it's not. Is it floating? It's floating. It is not coming down. Come on. So you see what it's doing?
30. 20.
And it's still floating. I may just let it do it because I can't control it. Okay, now it's down. Front wheel's down. Reverse thrust. And we'll brake at 80. Alright, so as you saw, like I said before, because of the low altitude of Autopilot's off, let's stop it right there and we'll go to 300 feet. Because of the low altitude of the airport, the Autopilot decreases the rate of descent down to less than 100 feet per minute, and the plane floats. So we'll call it ballooning, I guess, is what you can call it. But it's really not. It's like it's riding on a ground that's really not there. So I don't know if the developers can do something about that, because otherwise it's really going to take away your ability to do automated landings at low altitude airports. So there's the landing point. Now watch how long this plane flies. I have it set at 700 feet per minute. Right now it's flaring. And this is only 135 knots. And look how long it's taking to get down. 50 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet. Still no touch, right there. You can tell you've touched because the engines go to idle. And that's halfway down the runway. And look, this whole time, had we just gone ahead and landed, even with that crosswind, we're on the center line. See that? Alright, so let's go ahead and put it there, and I'll go live and hit the brakes. Alright, so look, I'm going to end it there. So maybe you can do some experimentations. And remember, this problem only exists in airports that are below like 150. I think if you're like at 130, 120, you should be okay. Because once it hits 150, the rate of descent is all but non-existent. Okay, you can't control it. You don't have any control over it unless you want your rate of descent to be 100 feet per minute. Let's see. Normally, when you're doing that automated descent, you're going to decrease your vertical speed as you get closer to the ground, and your plane is gonna flare. So hopefully this give you a foundation of something you can work on, and hit me up, either Twitter or my email, and happy flying.